he doesn't tolerate any,
BS, right?
yeah, thank you. But he's there for you, and he does his best to do the right thing. And I felt like that with Burt, like where like I'm trying to understand this man, this character.
You don't look so good.
Well, of course I don't look so good. I'm this close to 80.
You're gonna live a long time.
9 months.
9 months what?
The baby takes 9 months to be born. I'm taking 9 months to say goodbye.
You have Stephen Wallis, the writer-director, as well as the actors, Eric Peterson and Polly Shannon.
Sounds good. Pleasure to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you, Jim.
How's everyone doing today?
Good. I am, anyways. I'm good. I'm still sitting here. So
there you go. I'm sure this isn't the first one you've done today, so hopefully I can make it smooth and easy. Stephen, I'm going to start with you. When you first, because you obviously wrote as direct this whole thing, what was the first kind of spark, or do you remember the moment that led to this film eventually? The first idea maybe, or first inspiration maybe for the whole project? How did this kind of come about for you initially from the very beginnings?
Yeah, it came from something my mother had said. Burt's line at the start of the movie about, I had 9 months to be born, I'm going to take 9 months to die. It was actually something my mother had said to me one day. And I thought it was such a kind of profound statement that I thought I would try to write about that. And, and about, and watching how she was reconnecting with people in her life before she died. And that's really where it started off with, and I had this I love intertwining stories. I love, like a lot of stories going on at the same time. I find that sometimes you get it feels a little bit more real life, I think, when you have that going on, And so because I love Nashville, love Actually, and I just thought that's the style of film I wanted to do. And I thought the idea was kind of profound. And then I just kind of took the journey with everybody. I didn't really have a whole lot in my head at the time of where everybody was going to end up outside maybe Burt's character. And I was just going to let the journey come, take me where it did.
That's fascinating in a lot of ways. I mean, because I thought of those movies too, because those movies that I always enjoy the movies that have so many kind of subplots that link in. And how hard is it actually for you as a writer, that part of it, to link everything together? Because when I watch these movies, I'm like, how did they put this together? Like, did they plan this ahead? Like, it's just one of those things where so many storylines come together. Is that difficult as a writer, or you just kind of separate the stories in your mind? I'm kind of curious how you approach that.
It was one of those things a friend of mine used to say to me, and I didn't know if I took it as a compliment when I first started. He used to say, your B and C stories are always great. And which at the time I thought, well, you're saying my A story sucks. But, but what I realized was what they were saying is that my secondary and my, stories were always, nicely caught up into what was going on. And what I found was that once you kind of get into a rhythm of it, it actually was very freeing, because in a film, like in a regular film, I have to go from, Polly and her husband meet, Polly and her husband have a fight, they get back together. You see all these things. And so what happens is you start getting into all these Hollywood habits, the save the cat kind of stuff, where you're hitting all these check marks along the way. Right. Whereas when you've got a lot of stories going, I can skip some of those things. I can skip the big fight. I can actually go into the aftermath of it. And what I found is that it actually gave the audience more interest in what was going on, because they're like, what happened? What the hell happened? I missed that, And so I found but that's kind of the way real life is, because I didn't know that, like, Polly had a fight with her husband, and I didn't know that they got back together, and I didn't even know they broke up, and so, but that's what happens. And I think when you do a lot of those stories, that it allows you to, feel like it's like a real life thing, where it's like, oh, what's going on? Oh, but she's in Lamaze classes with that girl. Oh, and I think that was always something that, I don't know if every writer likes doing it. I think that it's a bit of a challenge in some cases, because you have to come up with not just one interesting story, you have to come up with a bunch of interesting stories. But I do think that what I found is that it came very naturally for me, and so I wasn't going to complain about it because it did seem to flow for me.
Well done on that part. Polly, I was curious, your scenes with Bird, there's so many of them. Did that remind you maybe of a real situation with like your personal dad? Because I always kind of wonder when you have these kind of personal, in a sense, scenes, like how close to home does it hit to your own personal life, like potentially with your father? How do you draw from that?
I think that interestingly, his character is a lot like my dad.
Wow.
Like, so he's not very like forthcoming about his life. I have to, my father actually got hit by a motorcycle standing on the side of the road, and it was his neighbors who told me. He didn't want to tell me. He doesn't want any sympathy. Like, he's grumpy, but at the same time, he is the most supporting, loving dad. He doesn't tolerate any,
BS, right?
Thank you. He's there for you, and he does his best to do the right thing. And I felt like that with Burt, I'm trying to understand this man. This character wants to understand her father and the way he works and how he functions, and they are different beings, and so I think, and she lives in another city, and she's having her own life that's very different than her father's life. And I think that she's been given this divine opportunity to come and get to know this wonderful person and go through it with him and heal her heart so that she can move on with her own more grown-up relationship, with other people in the world.
Yeah, no, that's a fact of life, in so many ways, that kind of personal growth and through generations too. So that's it's a cool way of kind of going about it, and the way you framed it. Eric, you're a doctor on the side by any chance, or?
I am a doctor. Yes, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
I am old Doc Peterson. Yeah, no. No, I'm not a doctor.
Well done, though.
I am demented.
Where'd you draw your inspiration? Frequent visits, maybe, or?
Oh, totally frequent visits. I'm a straight kind of old-fashioned actor. I just go, this is a damn good script. I want to be in this. And it had a wonderful cast in it. Burt Reynolds was going to be into it. Why not do it? Why not do it? I had nothing else to do. And God knows we're all looking for work at any given moment in our careers. So, yeah.
You've been around the game for a while. It's not your first rodeo by any chance.
It wasn't my first one, no.
Exactly. You've seen a lot of projects over the years. What kind of draws you to a project like this? Since it's, for someone that's been around the industry for a long time, performed in various films over the years and over different eras, that changed. What sort of, at this point, a project like this, what kind of draw does it have? And how does it draw you technically?
Well, again, it was a good character, eh? At my age, the role, the number of roles you get now are not as, I'm not being asked to play the big, handsome, action guy anymore.
You sure not?
Really.
You sure there's no roles for me?
I don't know why. I can still do it.
I thought you turned Aquaman down. I thought that.
Hey, those Marvel movies are gonna get old someday,
It just means a little longer in the makeup trailer. That's all it is. Otherwise, Anyway, that's hilarious. No, it was a wonderful part, eh? The guy, I love the world that he lived in. I mean, in the sense that as something to act, a man that's having, delusional aspects to his life, the kind of absurd scenes that he is now witnessing around him. And in those kind of situations, to be able to play, that was fun to play that. And it just sounds, it's a really very sound script in kind of human relations. So yeah, it was for an actor, you go, this is a wonderful, it wasn't an action piece, but it was a wonderful relationship story and a very interesting character, going through a very interesting time in his life, in a passage in his life. And it was a wonderful cast. And
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
again, you know, so you're, as an actor, you're attracted by the part and you know, things that you respond to into that make you want to do it. I mean, I'm pretty instinctual that way. When I read something, I go, yeah, this is something I want to do. I don't think I'm that career oriented in a sense. I really want to do something that I think that I seem to be responding to in some way. And so it's a surer path for me to, you know, not make a total fool of myself in while acting.
Well, you had me fooled that you could be a real doctor, so I guess you're doing something right there.
And then, you know, and again in this film, because Burt Reynolds was doing it, it would have been, I would have been a lunatic not to pass up the opportunity to work with this man that I'd admired as an audience member all my you know, adult life.
No question.
He was so famous and yet so approachable and there, and such a down-to-earth actor who knew what he wanted to do with the part. You could talk to him about it like you could with any of the other actors, and he was just wanting to play a part. He wasn't, yeah, it was a treat to be with him.
Stephen, I'm going to jump on off that point kind of with Burt. It's billed as his final performance, obviously. What was his kind of status at that point during filming? I mean, was there any inclination about his health status, or what was kind of that? Because he seemed very sharp in the film, you know, in that essence. I'm kind of curious what that was like.
Yeah, I don't think I mean, because I know when he passed, it was very sudden and very unexpected. You
right.
know, he was, I mean, he had some injuries because of all those years doing his own stunts. As you used to say, like when you see him jump out of a car in a movie, it was actually him jumping out of the car in the movie. Wow. And so he had some problems walking, but his mind was sharp. He was, to be honest with you, we did some pretty long days with him, which usually you don't do with guys at his level. And he was fine with, you know, a little tired at the end, but no, we had no idea that it was going to, it was going to be his last film. And be honest with you, when I was in Ireland, when I found out shooting another film, and I got a phone call from the BBC asking if I'd do an interview about him. And I'm like, I have a phone that I've had for 3 days. Like, I don't even know how they got my phone number. And like literally, you know, I'm getting this call about him passing. And, you know, and so it was complete shock. I can remember doing the interview that night on TV, and I really had no clue. In fact, I almost told the poor lady to go F herself at one point because she made a comment, and because I was just still in shock.
Yeah, I can imagine.
She made a comment. She said, well, at the very least tonight, you were able to pitch your movie. That's what she said to me at the end of the interview. That's what she said. Like after, and we loved Burt. Like if you'll hear it from the way that everybody spoke about him. He was a nice man, and he was a kind man. And, you know, and if you listen to him talk about his life and about the people in it, he loved them all. You know, there's only one movie that everyone knows what it is, you know, that he ever had issues with. Everything else, he loved the experience, and he loved the people involved, you know, and he was just a good guy. And it's a shame because we would have used him again and again and again. You know, he was phenomenal. I consider myself very, very lucky that I had a chance to work with him, and I'm very I consider myself very even luckier that I got to be friends with him. You know, that I got a chance to talk to him after he left the movie and talk about doing other things and stuff. He was just a sweet man. And
I thought you wrote a hell of a character for him too, and I thought it was really seamless, very authentic, and kind of there's a lot of reality in what I felt like the point of time in his life and just the character. It's an interesting parallel. Polly, you know, this movie's called Defining Moments. Did you ever think about your own personal defining moments in your life? Did any stick out potentially now that working on this film? You see so many different areas of defining moments in people's lives in this movie and in these characters, but did it make you think of your own personal defining moments, and did you have one?
I think I've had a lot. You know, I've lived a pretty cool life. I hope to keep going. I think, you know, the defining moments are really anything that comes, and I think Stephen said it before. It wasn't like, it's not always what you expect to have. How did you say that, Stephen? You said it so well.
I was brilliant earlier this afternoon. I can't be
You're
brilliant.
so brilliant now. What?
Well, no, the truth is that you don't always know when it's coming, and you don't know what, and you don't know what to expect. And a lot of the times it passes you before you've actually seen it. But the thing is, we all have those things, and I think it's hard because sometimes I think that a lot of times we're very stuck in part of that moment that is on the emotional side. And we don't pull ourselves back a little bit and go, my aunt died recently, and I can remember because she was as closest to a mom as I had outside my own mother, and I can remember just thanks to the experience of the movie, I was actually able to sit there and go, you know what? I'm going to pull myself back. I'm going to tell her, that I love her. I'm going to give her those moments. Like I went out and got like strawberry shortcake, which is something she used to always make for me on my birthdays. You know what I mean? And like, but because I was present in that moment, I was able to do that, and I think that what happens sometimes in life is that we're not conscious of those moments, and we're not paying attention to the things. And even though it might be painful, I think sometimes you need to like I said, be present during it. And I think that that's part of what I was trying to show in defining moments, was that, like we all have these moments, like you're going to, I think Burt's comment, you're going to find love, you will have tragedy. Like those are common things. Like we all have that. We're all going to have that moment where our heart is broken. We're all going to have that moment where somebody saves the day for you and does something amazing that you never thought in a million years you were going to have. But a lot of the times we don't realize the importance of that moment until 10 years later. And if we could take that little bit more time to see it as it's happening, I think we would have a better feeling about that experience. It's like, it's being able to, when my mother passed, she went into a coma very quickly. But I can remember being smart enough at the time to actually talk to her like while she was conscious, you know what I mean? And knowing that they're giving her stuff that is going to knock her out, into a coma. And so, but like a lot of times people don't get that moment. They don't get that chance, and I think that's kind of one of the lessons I hope that, people see from it, is that they'll recognize that they have these moments, like Rosie said, romantically and, and with families and stuff. And so Polly and her dinging.
Busy, it's a marker for wrapping this up.
I've tried everything to turn these things off.
It took me a while, Polly, to figure this out on my own. I think if you have a Mac, it's like a little.
It's a disaster. I put it on silent. I put it on.
Oh, you did, and it's still going.
It's still coming up, and I don't know why.
Sometimes it tells you how much time you can put for it, but yep, it's acting up.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. I mean, it was probably the most important speech of my whole life.
It's the defining moment of this interview right there.
I had the audience in the palm of my hands. I was emotional. I was truthful.
But you know what?
Singing, so we're good.
This is life. That's what I think of the theme of this movie comes down to. It's like these moments that sometimes, like they always say, stop and smell the roses. And I think that's kind of the thing about this film and just life in general. It's the moments that sometimes aren't the biggest, that have a certain meaning to it, that you kind of share with someone, like you have a moment to share. So it could be defined in many ways, but I think you guys did a wonderful job all around, kind of giving a slice of life in very different aspects. And, it's kind of what it is. It tells you to, pay more attention to every moment you live, because you never know how many you have left, right?
100%. 100%. I think that we forget how important all the different kinds of relationships are in our lives, and I think this is a lovely film that really explores that. You know, it's not just the hero saves the day, gets the girl. You know, this is a whole other exploration of other very important relationships that we need as people to be well-rounded and fulfilled. And I think Stephen's done a lovely job writing that and executing that. So.
Perfectly said. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk to me. This was fun. Went by quick, so you know that's always good, right?
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Looking forward to you guys connecting again on the next project. It'd be awesome to see everyone get back together.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thanks, Jim. Talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.